Hello friends, welcome back to Kavita's classroom. Today's topic in hand is Positive and Normative Economics, and let's begin learning. But do not forget to subscribe. Here we go. So the term positive and normative economics, it means how do we define economics? What is its nature? Right? It's positive as well as normative. Before going ahead, let me discuss what is the basic term from which this normative word has come. It has come from the term norm. Norm means which is related to somewhat the value system. What should be, what ought be. So ought to be, should be, which should happen, right? So it's not related actually with the real life, it's related with the idealistic life. So this is what the difference is. Economics, which the part which says it should be like this, that is related to normative economics, but which simply tells you what is the right situation, which gives you the mirror image, what actually is the reflection, true reflection of the society. So that is positive economics. With this basic understanding, you would be able to have all these 4 5 differences very clear. So when we say positive economics, it deals with what is and how the economic problems are actually solved. What is the key term here. And it deals with what ought to be. It is talking about the ideal situation. So second difference is verification. It can be verified with the actual data. Verification is possible. But here there is no verification because this is just an ideal statement. We should have this in a nation. The inflation should be controlled to this value. But if it is said that inflation in the country is moving at the rate of this, so this can be testified from the data, right? If they say that unemployment rate should be controlled in the economy, so this should be is a statement which talks about the normative situation. But when they say the unemployment rate went to as high as 25 to 30% in depression period, so yes, you can check it from the existing data. So positive economics is verifiable, but normative economics is just a judgment, so you cannot verify. Purpose, it aims to make a real description of an economic activity. It aims to determine the ideals. It deals with the ideals, but it talks about the real picture. As I said, it gives you the mirror image. What is would be reflected in the positive economics without any distortion. Suggestive, it's based upon facts and thus is not suggestive in nature, but it is based on individual's opinion. Many economists have portrayed it should be like this, it should go that way. So wherever the term should and ought be comes, that relates to the normative aspect of economics. And there are inequalities in our country. Yes, you can check it. And this is the example. It's talking about what is. There are the inequalities. But in income inequalities should be removed is a situation which relates with ideals, right? So this is normative economics. When it comes to how the pattern of this question in the papers, right? You may be given 4 statements. Out of these 4, 3 would be on one side and 1 would be other side, and you are to check the odd man out. There can be identification question also. There can be statement 1, statement 2 questions where one is positive, one is normative, or you may be asked to give an example of positive or normative economics. Now, the next related topic in the introductory chapter of microeconomics is microeconomics and macroeconomics. What is the difference, right? So when we talk about its etymology, where has this come from? So both have been derived from Greek term. One is micros, means small, and the other is macros, means large. So this is the derivation, the root of the term. Right. Meaning means it's that part of economic theory that studies the behavior of individual units of the economy. Individual units means like you, like me, like school, a factory, one market. Market is again aggregation, but we're talking about one market. I'll talk about this little later. It's a part of the economic theory that studies the behavior of aggregates of the economy as a whole. The thing which I want to tell you here is aggregation, right? They say that is it only the macroeconomics where aggregation happens? Aggregation happens here as well as here. Please make a note of it. Here the aggregation is to the low level and here it is to the higher level. How? When we're talking about one classroom in a school, so they say one classroom, it never means there is no aggregation. There is aggregation of 30 to 40 students. That's how it has become a class. That's why we say aggregation is there but limited to few students. So one class whenever we are studying, that is a part of microeconomics. And when we are talking about CBSE board result of 20, 25, 26 or whichever year of grade 12, right? So this becomes a matter of the whole nation, whole CBSE, right? So this becomes macro. Again, another example, you're talking about one school. So one school, it means microeconomics, but one school is a degree of aggregation of so many classes, so many students, so many teachers, right? So again, we say that aggregation is there, but to a low level in micro and high level in macro. We would never deny that aggregation is not there. Yeah, is there. Okay. Then the tools. Tools are demand and supply. Here it is aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Demand and supply means micro, and whenever we are talking about the whole nation at a very higher level, so it becomes aggregate of demand and aggregate of supply. The other name is the price theory and income and employment theory. You must note, why do we call it a price theory? And have you ever checked the index of any microeconomics book? They talk about the introduction, then they talk about the consumer equilibrium, then they talk about the producer equilibrium, then they talk about the markets. And after studying all consumer, producer, and market, what do they land at? They generally just get the intersection of demand and supply to land on the prices. So the whole crux of the notebook is this chapter, that we get to know how to determine the prices after learning about demand from consumer equilibrium, supply from producer equilibrium, then about the market. So the other name is price theory. Its main focus is on price theory. And here this is called income and employment theory, which is the basic crux of macro. Then we have examples: individual income, individual output, national income and national output, and then the assumptions. Most often these assumptions are not clear to the students and they omit this statement. Let me try explaining the same. When we talk about micro says all the macro variables are constant. For example, if you are studying an individual, how the person spends, then we'll say the price level is constant, and then we'll study the prices or the expenditure pattern of that person. It means there is no inflation, right? But when we talk about macro, we say all the micro economic variables are stable. How? If we want to study the inflation, then we'll assume that the income earned by all the people, all the individuals is stable, constant. When we're talking about the production in macro output, so we assume that the technology, that the machine taken by them, so this all remains stable. So point is, whenever we are talking about micro, we assume macro variables to be stable, and whenever we are talking about macro, we assume microeconomic variables to be stable and constant. See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye. Study hard.